Welcome, one and all, to another special video edition of the OIC Podcast. My name is Noah Hanson, and I'm here with Kevin Peterson, and we are both Master Certified Life Coaches. We're going to be telling you about 3 different topics in this video edition of the OIC Podcast. We're going to be talking about 1, political agendas. 2, we're going to be talking about scripted messages. And then 3, we're going to be talking about authentic messages. So we are both looking forward to taking you on a journey of new discovery into these 3 topics. And of course, we're going to start it off this morning, Kevin, with political agendas. What do you have to say on that subject?
Politically,
what do you got to say?
Politically, the bottom line is that whether you are independent, whether you are Democrat, whether you are Republican, we, the United States of America, we the people need to be a one republic. We need to be able to be unified. We need to be able to be grounded and founded on the Constitution of the United States, and to be able to have a kind of a unified leadership that can resonate with all of us.
No doubt.
But politically speaking, is that the reason why things are so divided is to be able to divide us, U.S. citizens. And what I mean by that is that whether you, whatever title you want to put as far as your political flavor of the day, the bottom line is that we all have a mission and vision in life. We all have important things that we'd like to be able to see get accomplished in life. And we have to be able to vote on certain people to be able to get that job done. But more importantly is that what we have completely sidetracked ourselves on is our own ability as non-political people, just free, sovereign, governed people, to be able to do incredible things ourselves. We have disempowered ourselves to be able to only appoint, only to put into place, only to be able to look forward to whomever it is that you're wanting to be able to have in power. But the bottom line is that if they don't resonate with you, if they don't, serve a political purpose in your life, then they are equally as ineffective as you doing nothing.
That makes sense.
So it's important that you take politics out of the truth and let that resonate. Is that if you need something done, if you have the physical ability or the capability to be able to do it, then it's your empowerment that can be able to get it done. These presidential figureheads need to be just that. They need to be able to be your voice in Congress. They need to be your voice in the Senate. But without your participation, without you being proactive, then it all just becomes political, and whatever any of these leaders say is then hearsay, because in the background of a political situation is that they will say whatever they can to be able to get into office, but then they'll quickly realize is that they're disempowered because of the fact that they have limited power in that role.
Yes, and of course there is a lot of money in politics, especially in America these days. And I think a big topic of what you're talking about when we're talking about political agendas is the difference between a political agendized leader and an authentic leader.
Oh, absolutely. Because a authentic leader, like I was stating earlier, you, the citizen, can be able to do a greater good than a politician could ever. Your examples, how you set the example, how you resonate within your community, what you do community-wide, proactively, resonates stronger than any presidential candidate to be able to come in and try to do the same thing, because they can't. Because one, they have bodyguards, they're under constant surveillance, they're constantly being protected, so they can't have the freedoms that we have to be able to do the same thing.
Yes.
All they can do is be able to vote in or to be able to try to get something passed on our behalf.
Yes, and of course, a lot of politicians these days will appeal to certain messages that they don't really resonate with because they're trying to gain a vote, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to appeal to a certain group of people that may not be a group of people that they authentically are in real life.
Right. And so if you can be able to eliminate that obstacle or that issue, then we would have a different presidency altogether.
And I like what you said about political activism, how the things, the actions that we take can be more powerful than what someone on TV is taking position-wise.
Yeah, that's the true empowerment of we the people.
Right, exactly.
We the people for the people, right?
Yes, and another subject that you were talking about is how we need a unified sort of leadership in this country, and that's what the founding fathers originally intended for this country. You know, they talked about having just one political party, so that would stay unified, so that it wouldn't divide into a binary system that really splits a lot of people up in this country.
Well, yeah, but that whole thing was designed because of the disempowerment of the human beings, both male and female, getting to that point. Imagine if you had the same political power, the same political clout, but without a title, without any kind of an office, but you had the physical ability to be able to manifest such great things that you were wanting in your community, in your hometown, in your own street, right? But what has happened is that our U.S. government and other governments around the world have put us into a position to where we worship debt, we worship disempowerment, we worship all these different things. And the reason why I call it worship is because they are a form of programming to be able to get us into this position. I remember back in my childhood to where wives were freely staying at home and being able to take care of children. No longer is that the case. We have total strangers raising our children, and then when we want to take full credit for their upbringing, and then when things go bad, then we want to blame the people that actually raised our children on our own behalf.
Yes, and of course there is a large problem in this country with a lot of fatherless children, unfortunately. There's a lot of people that aren't even being raised with the proper parental figures in their lives that allow them to, make their own choices, make their own belief systems in their lives.
But you got children that don't have a father, but then you don't have a mother that has a good enough degree, good enough education, good enough whatever, because she's female, to be able to then take the role both male and female. That's why so many single mothers are working 2 and 3 jobs.
Right. And that's just wearing people out. That's just wearing mothers out.
It's wearing their souls out.
Right.
And so you got deadbeat dads, and then you got overworked moms.
Right.
But again, what are we doing about it? What are we as people doing about that situation to be able to change it? We hope and we pray, and then we try to be able to vote in, the right mayor, the right governor, the right senator, to be able to aid us and to be able to help us overcome these conflicts. But we, the people, have more power and authority if we just tag teamed up and came to a unified decision that we're not going to let these people struggle and suffer as much as they do. To be able to have, and understand, is that you have, as a woman, 3 times the amount of opportunities as far as government-assisted programs than men do.
Sure.
But it's designed that way. It's designed to permanently disable the female, the alpha female, and be able to force condition them, saying that you need a male, you need to be able to have, a father figure, you need to be able to have someone else in your life because you just can't do it yourself, right?
Sure. A lot of people are told a lot of things in this country, and a lot of these things are just not resonating, not true.
But then you've got the 1%ers, the Angela Mayos, and all these other great leaders, that single mothers being able to do miraculous things that no man could be able to do, right? But you have to understand is that women is equally as powerful as men, but we, the society, don't place them in that position, right?
Right. So us at the OIC Podcast are all about soul empowerment. We're all about enhancing your life in every way possible. And that's why we talk so much about things such as emotional intelligence, how to gain mental clarity, how to have more empowerment in your life. That's what we are actively doing to address these situations, right?
Absolutely.
Now, this is something that we don't want to just feed it to you and you take the message and don't do anything with it. We would like for you to be able to pass this information on to the people who need it most in your life. So that's why we always invite you to share our content, but also, resonate with the information, allow yourself to pass this forward, pay it forward to the people who need it most.
Absolutely. So if you know single mothers that are absolutely just being a walking, talking success story, we should highlight them in our
Oh, yeah.
communities. We should be able to bring them forward to be able to teach, train, motivate, direct, and guide other women to be able to do the same similar things. Understand, a president can't do that. A governor can't do that. A mayor can't do that. A senator can't do that.
Right, because it's all filtered.
Because, not only is it filtered, but they have restrictions on what they can and cannot do. They are governed by different laws other than us.
Right. The President of the United States is in a position that they're in just the free clear of they can say whatever they want. They have scripted messages, which is the topic that we're going to move on to is scripted messages. There's a lot that goes into this, especially in the U.S., advertisements, things like that.
Yeah, when you're talking about scripted messages, it is subliminal, subconscious, and it is controlling. And what I mean by that is that there's an agenda behind it, there's a motive behind it, and it's not necessarily even that person that is speaking it, their agenda, it's other people's agenda that are encouraging or enforcing that message. So scripted messages are very deadly, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because it's not authentic to the person that's actually speaking it.
Right, and of course, we know that there are a lot of corporations in this country that are really not benevolent.
Right.
They're trying to sell a product, whether this product enhances someone's life or just gets someone, for example, addicted to opioids.
Right.
That's just one of many examples. Now, another type of message that I want to portray here is what's called super-liminal messages. And this is going to show you how subconsciously we can sort of be influenced by the things that we see on TV, by the music that we hear in a grocery store, which is the example that I'm going to give you, where in a grocery, there's a study done where in a grocery store they played French music one day. And believe it or not, the French wine sales actually spiked a significant amount. Now, the next day they played German music in that grocery store, and the German wine sales spiked.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's just one way, and that's just a small aspect. That's just the music that was playing in a grocery store that can kind of shift or alter or change our decisions, not completely controlling us. We're still making the decisions, but it goes to show just how powerful one aspect of a scripted message can be, something that is placed there specifically for an agenda that's being pushed.
Yeah. Now, everyone knows about the Marlboro Man. Everyone knows about subliminal messaging. Why do you like Coca-Cola so much? Have you even gathered the thought? How about Pepsi?
But there's also the fact that we have different frequencies that influence our brain chemistry in different ways.
Absolutely.
And the frequencies of this music has been shifted and changed throughout history to do different things in the music.
Right. More importantly is that if you actually took a deep dive into music as a whole, music started with the voice. Then came the instruments, right? And then came the silent instruments. And here's what I mean, is that instead of actually picking up an actual instrument, it would be a stick up against something else wooden to be able to knock, right?
Okay.
They were called knocker sticks. And basically the whole thing is that the Indians used them, other cultures around the world used them, but it was a form of communication that depending on how many knocks they rapped against a tree or against another piece of wood would then be able to echo and send a message to other people that were in the forest or in the woods or in the environment, right, to be able to tell them that something is happening for them to be able to come back. Then the Indians got so stealthy that they started to do it with the smoke messages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in that, even in that culture, that there was kids that were literally creating smoke signals, giving off false information to other people to be able to get these people sidetracked, to be able to attack them and to be able to kill them.
That's interesting. And this has to do with scripted messages because,
Because it is a deliberate message given out to the universe for the universe to be able to look at it, to be able to see it, and go, oh, okay, so this puff of smoke means this. 2 puffs of smoke means this, right? It was the very first authentic ever version of
Morse code.
Yeah. So if you're going to take that deep of a dive into it, prior to us knowing what sonar was, is that we used to have the emperors and kings men be able to go to the waterside and blow trumpets. And each trumpet at different frequencies would mean a different message.
Interesting.
And they could be, because on water, that message could be able to travel a long distance. And so the louder and the more pronounced it was, then people on ships could be able to hear that things were either good or not so good, right?
Sure.
And then the military got into the light flashing, which is the same thing as the Indians with the smoke clouds, right?
Right.
And so we were able to do that to be able to send a message to people at a far away distance and communicate, right? All of these are instruments of communication. The deepest part is a lot of it can be subliminal because it can be used either for good or for evil, right? So now, coming full circle through all of that and through all history, right? We even did flaming arrows as a message too, right? I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, I love the historical aspect that you're bringing.
So now come to current times. It is that we know through music, through digital enhanced audio, is that we can literally hear not only the singer singing, but we can then, if you cut out the singer singing in what's called karaoke, and to be able to listen to the background noise, you could literally hear in super audio CDs and super audio DAC players. And the reason why that kind of faded out pretty quickly is because people were hearing these people being prompted to be able to say something or to be able to sing something, or there was things going on in the background as far as rituals or ceremonies that they didn't think were being recorded. But super audio really captured a bunch of things in the background that these artists weren't privy to because they're so busy trying to be able to do what they were doing on stage.
Sure.
That it ended up becoming a weapon against not only the artist, but then the military got super audio to be able to then use against our enemy. And what do we call that today? Wiretapping. Oh, okay.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So you got the wiretapping.
Mm-hmm.
You got the you wearing a wire. All that kind of stuff. Because people use everything that could be positive in a negative way. And so, in this second topic, is that there has been things throughout generations that have been used in a malevolent way, in a non-purified way, that when it was originally created, it was created for a positive intent that turned malicious quick. And it stayed that way for that duration. Because no one talks about the positive things that have happened. Like with the super audio CD, is to being able to hear, what we would call angels singing in the background with someone else singing. It's like there's no other audio going on, but yet you can hear voices clearly in the background that something is going on, but it wasn't in the original recording, but it was.
Now that gets very spiritual, and I've done a deep dive into this as well, and it's pretty profound. And you can have your own viewpoints on what this actually was, but the people who have recorded these audios seem to be clueless.
Well, correct, because they didn't have the intention to be able to pick up their ancestors. They didn't have the intentions of worshiping or being able to pray for these angels to be able to appear in choir and to be able to sing. There's so many things in the background that is untalked about, unscripted, that needs to be talked about. There are things that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed. The biggest thing and the most important thing is that the truth, no matter how you like it, reveals itself in every possible scenario or situation that you can be able to put it in. Here's what I mean, is that with the super audio, and the reason why I keep going back to it is because it's a huge deep dive, but that's why it really, and then you got DAC audio, which is even higher, right? The most purest form of audio, right? So the positive note is that when you're using it for positive intentions, what you're allowing is the proper frequency, the proper volume, the proper message to be heard the first time around, and it's purified intent to where it's so pure and it's so uplifting that you feel empowered, inspired. You feel like something's happened, like there's a switch, and it's not all the time psychological. It's not all the time subliminal. It is just, and it resonates with you. You know that there's something special about it, but you can't put your finger on it. But what it is purified communication without the distortion of malevolence within it.
Yes, and I love that, because now we're going to move on to authentic messages for the last topic of this section. We've only got about 5 minutes here to keep it to a half hour. But I think this is a good leeway, because when we're talking about authentic messages, a lot of these messages that we're hearing in our music, on our TV, these messages that we're consuming can influence us in different ways, either, bring us up, lift us up, or bring us down. And there's a lot of people that when they're getting depressed, and I know that you as a Master Certified Life Coach and me as a Master Certified Life Coach love to tell people, when you're suffering from depression, when you're suffering from anxiety, when you're having negative thought patterns, what's the music that you're listening to? What is the TV channels that you're watching? What programs are you programming yourself with? They're called programs for a reason.
Yeah.
And so authentic messages are the messages that, whether positive or negative, they're authentically, intentionally doing something to someone for a reason.
Absolutely. And when it comes to depression, anxiety, worry, fear, grief, the biggest blessing out of all of it is that it's not your fault. Oh yeah, I know. People say, pastor, because I'm a pastor as well. They're like, pastor, I'm depressed. I've got anxiety. I got worry, fear, grief, all that kind of stuff. Who are you listening to? Who are you watching? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you trying to emulate after? And then fifth and fourth kind of go together is who you're trying to become, right? So when you put in those 5 factors, teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding, when you put in those 5 factors into anything positive or anything negative, you get an outcome. We then title it because we need to entitle it.
Okay. I mean, label it, yeah.
Yeah, but what if we didn't give that negative thing a name?
Sure.
What if we discredited it? What if we rebuked it? What if we didn't give it the time of day in the first place, right?
Yeah, because, the more awareness and control and empowerment you have in your own being, the less that you are influenced by these outside influences without your consent.
Right. So authenticated messages are things that have no harm, no malice, no personalized intent other than the truth.
Okay.
Here's why. Have you ever heard the truth and tried to be able to then come up with a lie to be able to not receive it or accept it? We all have, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't stick. It doesn't have any sticking power. The truth is the truth, so help you God, right? So the importance with being authentic, the value of being authentic, and the value in authenticated messages simply means and simply is implied that it's not my personal view, it's not my political view, it's not anyone else's view. It is through history, it is through the centuries, it is through our ancestors, been proven without a shadow of a doubt that it is what it is for what it is. You've heard that before. It is what it is for what it is, right? Because you no matter how you try to be able to fight it, you can't. The truth ends up becoming so comfortable eventually in your life that that's the sole goal of your whole entire life is to be able to stay on that track.
Yeah. Now, when we are receiving negative information, truthful negative information, a lot of people can sort of switch to a inauthentic way of receiving that.
Correct.
Now, that truthful message is going to, be given to them. They're going to be able to resonate with it. However, it's our reactions to those truthful messages. If we're getting a negative truthful message, then we can go all up in arms and be absolutely devastated because we are realizing something that we, we are unfamiliar with and we just don't like.
Yeah. No, let me ask you a question. Why is it that we go into fight mode when we hear the truth? And we don't go into any fight mode whatsoever. We actually lay down and accept it and take it like it is the word of God, which it isn't. Anything negative is kind of like, oh, all right, it is for what it is, for what it is. But anything positive is like, oh, you got to rebel against it, because the programming that is going on in your life every moment of every day.
Yeah, you can't really escape it in America.
Well, you can't escape it anywhere except for being able to turn it to the left, being able to press the power button and call it good. You know why they call it a power button?
Because it determines your empowerment.
It absolutely does. And that's why you have a power button on the computer. You have a power button on the remote for your TV. You have a power button for your radio, right?
Mm-hmm. We're empowered to filter which messages we want to receive, what we want to feed ourselves with.
So, my gift to you today is find your power button to your authentic self today and turn it on. And then from that point on, never touch the dial again. Because what you resonate, how you resonate, and how you perceive and receive information becomes who you are today.
Yes, and that's a great closer. So before we go, we at the OIC Podcast are all about being able to resource yourself, being able to get to the bottom of the information that you are hearing both on this podcast and on other programs in your life. So that is why we provide links in the description to where you can further research the topics that we talk about in this podcast. We also have a lot of different podcasts that we talk about things that have to do with what we've talked about on this podcast. Now, on our website, inanewway.com, you can tip us, you can donate to our cause through our Patreon page, and also see a plethora of information and resources that we have on that website for you. So we invite you to that website, www.inanewway.com. That'll be in the description as well. And now I think that's it. I think that is the message that we wanted to give to you today.
And the most important thing is that if you like what we say and like what we do, all we're asking is for a like, a heart, or a share of this information. We also have, which is a very, very powerful message resonating tool, we've got some of the best t-shirts that you could ever possibly buy with the right messages to be able to send out the right vibes to those people that you vibe with.
That's right.
And so go to our merchandise, see what we can be able to offer you. If there's something that you want on a t-shirt that isn't currently available, let us know. And we'd love to be able to create a t-shirt specifically for you, because we want to be able to vibe and resonate with you as well.
Yes, imagine being able to just walk out in public, no matter what you're doing, whether you're talking to someone or not, and they see a message on your shirt that changes their life in a positive way forever. That is our intention behind making most of these t-shirts.
And so please go and check that out. Let us know what you think of them. And then on top of that is that for any reason that you don't like them, we have a 100% money back guarantee, all that kind of stuff. But we have what's called a pay it forward program. Here's the quiet little behind the scenes, and I'm going to share it with you. Proceeds for every t-shirt sale, through everything that we do, we pay it forward to people in our community, people in our neighborhoods that are struggling emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? And we know that times are tough. Things aren't easy. So by being able to buy our merchandise, we can use that money to then to be able to pay it forward to families just as equally as qualified as you. And who knows, maybe one day you will be able to get the donation as well. So please go to inanewaid.com, look at what we have to offer, and then like it and share it. And from there, we look forward to seeing you on the next video of the OIC.
Thank you for joining us.